Slack hacks. What's it like leading the SEO efforts for a company as big as Slack?
I bought an online casino with some money I had made playing online poker, moved to Dallas, work at an agency. I think I have about 300 books published on Amazon now. I started the first sort of Amazon SEO agency, and this was alongside my full-time gig where I'm trying to figure out why things rank the way they do, how I could use that information to improve my site. It accounted for like a couple $1 billion a year in revenue. But it was fun because I could build out a team, and from there you kind of build up credibility with the teams.
I thought you were going to say you had direct access to Jeff Bezos.
You know, I'm tasked with creating this SEO team from basically scratch. I've got in-house and agency support. They're happy to write an article about us in exchange for some promotion on our site or our social media. It's easier to acquire links when you're a big company.
If they think, one day I want to be the head of SEO at a big company like Slack, what are the skills they should be learning right now?
1, 2, 3, 4.
Want to attract and convert more leads? Want to learn how digital PR, branding, and SEO can establish and build your brand identity? Welcome to the Market Movers Building Brands and Links with Linkify podcast. We answer these questions and help you ramp up your brand visibility and credibility. Let's cut through the noise and make your business the talk of the town. We're your hosts, Nick and Chris. Let's get this show on the road.
Welcome to the Market Movers podcast. Today we're joined by Sam Page, a veteran in SEO with extensive experience leading strategies for absolute giants like Amazon and Slack. So let me just quickly pause my Slack notifications and welcome Sam Page. Welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Sam, it's great to have you on. To start, why don't you just tell us about your journey in SEO and how you ended up at Slack?
I guess I've been doing SEO for like 20 years almost now. It's been a long journey. We could take the whole podcast going through all the steps, but for a long story short is I started in college. I bought an online casino with some money I had made playing online poker. This was like 2003-ish, and I needed to market this website, and I had no idea what to do. There was like no documentation hardly. It was tough to understand what SEO was. And so I had to kind of be scrappy and test things out for myself. The casino did pretty well, but I think it was in 04, maybe it was 06, sometime around there. But since there was like some legislation coming through where they were banning like US credit card deposits. So I sold the online casino and moved to Dallas, work at an agency. I took a few like side jobs here and there, trying to learn as much as I could about SEO, and kind of just stuck with the industry. One of my diversions in that time was sort of like optimizing for Amazon's search algorithm. So I tried to reverse engineer their algorithm. This was about 2010, and I published an ebook and ranked it, started getting a lot of traffic, and did it again and again. I think I have about 300 books published on Amazon now. I created an assembly line of books, and I also did some products. So I became pretty well versed in the Amazon ranking algorithm. Then they had like ads and things like that also influenced their rankings. So I started the first sort of Amazon SEO agency, and this was alongside my full-time gig. It was fun to do that. Now it's way more difficult and a lot more labor intensive to do Amazon. So along the way, I just sort of pivoted back to traditional SEO, but my mind still works in this way, right? Where I'm trying to figure out why things rank the way they do and how I could use that information to improve my site. But yeah, sorry to derail that, but I think my first like in-house job after an agency stint was a company called High Boost, and they sold cell phone signal boosters. I was their marketing director. I did a lot of e-commerce and like regular SEO. It was a B2B sort of feel as well. So we had some B2B pages that we ranked. Then it was Bluehost was the company. It's a pretty big hosting company. So I got recruited by them to take on the head of SEO role, which was very appealing to me because I was working a lot of hours and traveling at the previous company. And Bluehost was fun. We did a great job there, and it was during the pandemic. So we also got some tailwinds from pandemic, pulled forward some business. We outranked like Google first keywords. We outranked a lot of competition like GoDaddy and Wix and those guys. So really had fun there, and it was a great team. Got taken private. After that was taken private, I got recruited by Amazon Business, which Amazon Business is like the B2B version of Amazon.com. That's the best way I can explain it. Yeah, so this was a $30 billion a year business that had never had a SEO director. So I took it over and just making, a few basic adjustments. Like it accounted for like a couple $1 billion a year in revenue. Scale was, but it was fun because I could build out a team and sort of scale up and operationalize the SEO team there, or the processes. This was also during the pandemic, but towards the tail end where we were we had a headwind, right? So people were returning to work and Amazon was sort of fighting that macro current. And, we did a good job, I think, at Amazon Business. SEOs kind of buoyed that headwind, and we basically stayed flat where the rest of the business units were declining. And so then I took a while off. I did some startup stuff, advised a few startups. I still advise a startup now called Match Coach. And then a friend of mine recommended me this job at Slack as the director of SEO here at Slack. So that's where I am now. It's fun. It's a lot of work. It's an interesting, it's very similar to Amazon Business. So I'll say that my skill sets kind of translate pretty well to here as well.
That's awesome. Such an awesome story, Sam. We have a lot of people on the show. We've had many heads of SEO and stuff, but I think what's going to be awesome about talking to you is Slack is such a ubiquitous company. I think almost everybody in our space, in our industry, is a user of the tool. So I think it would be a really great place to start, just to tell us what's it like leading the SEO efforts for a company as big as Slack and as ubiquitous as it is.
Bigger companies, they don't need to do like the hacks or the tricks or the tips of SEO. It's more about foundational SEO and making sure the SEO program is just executing properly. Like, are your title tags optimized? Are the pages loading quickly? Do we have enough words on all of these pages? There's a lot of technical SEO errors because it's there's 100,000+ pages, and it's just about executing properly. There's a lot of product managers and marketers that create pages, and this happens in most big businesses where a lot of people are creating pages, but are they going through like the SEO review process, right? And you don't want to have the site just Frankenstein out into a bunch of pages. You want to make sure the information architecture is properly set up. So it's not so like cutting edge, I would say, but more of just like, I hate this word, but finding alignment, right? You just got to get alignment on all of these different departments and business units. I think another important part of working in a large company is getting buy-in from upper management on the SEO initiatives. So there's a little bit of like, I wouldn't say politics, but it's like you really need to make a case for your SEO efforts to be funded and to be prioritized, because you're competing, really your priorities are competing against other business units. You have to make it compelling, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, when you said when you went into Amazon, like there was no SEO team. What was that like going in there? Was it a mess? Was it, what did you have to do when you got there?
I'm not going to say it was a mess.
But legally,
Amazon has a lot of money. They can come after me. No, it was good, actually. Amazon has a lot of its own like proprietary tools you use internally. So it's not like it was on a WordPress CMS and you just hop right in and download some plugins, and you don't, so you have to use some of what they have. Luckily, we used Adobe Experience Manager, which I didn't have much experience with, coincidentally, but it was very similar to other CMSs. There was a little bit of a learning curve, but yeah, I think jumping into it was more of like, I took a dual sort of individual contributor and manager role where I went in and made a handful of changes to these important pages that were ranking well, but they could get better visibility. So I wanted to like prove myself to the team early on. Luckily, I was able to do that. And then, from there, you kind of build up credibility with the teams. Then you get budget to you create a budget, you create a roadmap, and that roadmap is bringing on new people or an agency. I like bringing on an agency early for these because you can scale up quickly, right? You don't need to hire. And if you had 5 internal hires to bring on that. It's very time consuming. It takes a long time for those people to ramp up and understand the inner workings of the company. So that was what I did. I just brought on like a hybrid agency and an in-house team. So yeah, it was fun though. It was, they give you a lot of autonomy, surprisingly, at Amazon. So I had like direct access to like publish on their website. So it was very interesting. Like I could have taken down this website on accident, right? Like if I made a mistake and cost whatever $1 million a minute.
Bezos wouldn't have minded.
Yeah, actually, I justified the risk, right? I don't think
I thought you were going to say you had direct access to Jeff Bezos. That would have been cool.
He wasn't there. It was Jassy, and I think he probably would have been a little bit easier to access than Bezos.
Sam, you hinted at the fact that your start at Amazon somewhat mirrored your start at Slack. Would that be fair in terms of like what was pre-existing in terms of their SEO and the work that you had to do?
Yeah, actually, so I'm building a team now at Slack. Slack was taken over or was purchased by Salesforce a few years ago. I think this was also during the pandemic, but I don't think that they were given a lot of priority, or like it was more of a product first growth mindset with Slack. And I think that's actually a really good approach for a lot of companies. So when I started, there were no other SEOs, and I'm tasked with creating this SEO team from basically scratch. There's been a few years of this content creation and no SEO input. Yeah, it's very similar. Like I'm starting out as a individual contributor, building a team as a director too. So they both have international, right? These are both international SEO teams. We're not just focused only on US with Amazon Business and with Slack. So
are you utilizing agencies as well, or are you just building the team directly?
Yeah, so I'm utilizing agencies. I've got an open headcount. So if anybody's watching that wants to come work with me for as an SEO senior manager, can manage some international content, please reach out to me. We're hiring. So, but yeah, I've got in-house and agency support.
When you come into a new team like this, assuming if there's a really strong foundation, it's probably a lot easier, but it's kind of an open book. You can do whatever you want. What's your biggest priority? What areas do you want to tackle first?
Yeah, I think the first thing is like, how much can we actually do? How much leeway and freedom does the SEO team have? How much red tape do we have? And that kind of varies between companies. If you just want to make an update to a page, do you have to go through do you have to go through several stakeholders to get this minute update, or do they just say, here's a quick process to do that? So that's something I think that I tend to evaluate first. I'm always looking to make a relatively quick impact, like early on in my time at a company. I want to show that I know what I'm doing. And so there's usually quick wins to be had with these kind of companies, especially if they haven't had SEO treatment for a long time. So yeah, those are the types of things I do. I try to do my own site audit. I'll do like a comprehensive audit on my own and uncover some of the technical or content issues that come up. And so some of those, you'll have some low-hanging fruit to address. And then at least you can also build sort of a roadmap for SEO based on these findings. And that is a bit more compelling to upper management when you say, look, I fixed these things. These are the results, right? Like, I think also tying back your SEO results to your initiatives is super valuable for big companies. It makes it very compelling for your roadmap and getting budget and headcount.
That's really interesting. And you mentioned earlier that when it comes to like enterprise SEO, it's a lot less needing to leverage those hacks and tricks. I'm assuming that's based on the fact that one can leverage the authority of a domain like Slack, the amount of branded search it must get, all of the sort of juicy signals that you can just get the technicals right, lay a solid foundation, and then hopefully see good, sustained, organic traffic. That being said, are there areas which still move the needle? Are links important, and is link building a part of your SEO strategy for a company like Slack?
Yeah, there's things that move the needle for sure. A lot of it revolves around content strategy too. Those are the things that really move the needle. Topical authority and creating content clusters, that type of thing. But yeah, as far as link building goes, for sure, especially internal link building is almost always terrible at a large company. So this is
unmanageable.
It's actually an easy thing to fix if you have the scalability of like an in-house team or an agency, right? You just say, this is our priority for the next few weeks. Let's build out the internal link structure and make it better. For external links, so I have some relatively strong opinions about external links and acquiring them. And for bigger companies, the idea for me is through press releases, through content. We also get a lot of natural links. The thing is, a lot of these links go to the homepage or go to a product solutions page. So it's all, like most sites, very high level pages get the most links. We have a lot of internal pages that are very valuable that could rank better for non-brand terms, especially. And this is something that I'm kind of really wanting to figure out, is how we can get more deep links to the site from external sources. Link building too for a company like Slack is interesting because we can get really high authority links from our partners or customers, right? So our account managers or our product marketing managers have relationships with other giant companies, and they can just write, they're happy to write an article about us in exchange for some promotion on our site or our social media. This is a customer of Slack, and we promote it, and it's oh wow, that's a lot of eyeballs on our brand, and we can get a link from these articles on these high authority domains. But a lot of times it kind of just comes back to the product or to the main homepage. But I'm trying to get more of these to relevant blog posts or more resource pages, more in a few levels deeper onto the site.
It's interesting because I think that's sort of the opposite problem a lot of companies have. They are paying for links so they can easily get links to their blog content. They struggle to get links, at least good links, to their product pages. So in a way, that's actually not a bad position to be in, really.
No, it's easier to acquire links when you're a big company, right? And I've been on both ends, where I've been on a smaller company and I've had to pay for links, and it's really hard to understand the value. Plus, the full link value, if you will, it doesn't really get released by Google until 8 to 12 months, right? So you're sitting there doing all of these other things, and you can't really find the signal for the noise. So yeah, working for a bigger company, it's nice to not have to parse that. I can just say, we're getting links, and they're going to the right pages, or they're not going to the right pages, and that's good enough.
Yeah. I'm also curious about your internal linking strategy. So you mentioned that some people say stick to within the silo, don't link to content on the site that doesn't directly relate to that. And then some people, they'll just use tools to automate this to link to anything that, kind of makes sense within the sentence. How do you think about that? I never took too much stock for the just stay in your own silo, but I've had a couple situations where I was researching something, and when you follow that link that doesn't fit within that context, you actually lose what you were doing researching. So it does kind of make sense to funnel people down the same path towards the answer or that product that you're trying to push. What's your strategy for internal links?
I like to keep them all relevant. Whatever the topic is, let's keep it as relevant as possible. If you're looking at how to communicate with your team, so we'll use a Slack example, right? How to communicate with your team internally via video, right? Or how to set up video meetings or something like that. You don't want to drop them into an AI agents page unless it's very relevant to the topic. So I like to keep things very relevant. My thinking is all of the value and topical authority of one page, if it links to another page that's similar, it kind of passes on that authority in a lot of ways. Google, it ties them together semantically. Whereas if you're linking from one topic that's very optimized for a certain keyword and you link to another page that's totally different than what you're talking about on the other page, I just don't think you get much value from that. You can also kind of sort of exhaust your crawl budget if you have too many internal links on a page. I think it'd be interesting to know what is too many links for a page, right? 1,000, or is it 20? Is it just dependent on whatever niche you're into, right? So this type
To speak to what Nick said, I agree. I think you can see a website which has obviously got a well thought out internal linking strategy, and it doesn't feel like too many links on the page as a reader, and the links that are there are a relevant place for you to go whilst you are reading that particular content. So yeah, I think there's an element of just logic to it. I want to just, before we leave the link discussion, you touched upon having strong opinions on links. I was wondering if you could just expand on that, if maybe there's something outside of link building for Slack where you had a particular strong opinion?
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of people who kind of just shun paid links or acquired links. And I think like as a blanket, right? Like it's a blanket dogma. So my strong opinion is they work, they're valuable, but it depends on your niche, your industry that you're in, right? I've seen spam links still working in 2024, right? Like comment spam for certain niches still works. It's crazy. But also the same goes for like resurrecting an old site and making it a surrogate site for there's like some other like less maybe savory ways of building links, and they still work, but they wouldn't work in most niches, but other niches it still works. So it's not, and also in different geos, right? So like in international markets, things work differently than the US. I don't like, if it's not my company or my website, I don't like to take existential risks with them, right? So I don't use those types of tactics for things where other people's money is on the line. But if it's my own site and I'm wanting to test things out and learn things, anything goes. It's not illegal, right? I'm not going to jail. So let's find out what really is working. Also, there is a toxic links is also sort of a hot topic, I think, and people debate it. I feel like maybe the worst part of like toxic links is they tend to rot and die off. And you actually may see worse. I think Google's good at ignoring bad links because you could just negative SEO someone's site with those links. But I think that the real damage comes from link rot, and you have to like kind of keep this hamster wheel of high velocity linking up, and that's very hard to do. Yeah, those are my, I guess, strong opinions weakly held.
Yeah, that's great.
Those are both a great debate. I think like it's often missed. It's just risk tolerance. Like if you're going to pay for links, if you're going to use PBNs, if you're going to use these strategies, it's just your appetite for risk. And I think for me, the problem is just agencies that don't disclose their strategies. So if you want to buy paid links, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, Google would say differently, but as a strategy, that's fine. You should just know what it is that, what it is you're buying, I guess.
Yep. If you're buying links and you're not okay with the risk, you may need to rethink what you're doing. Or you just need to be more educated on the risks. I think that's probably part of it too.
And the link rot, I think that's a very interesting strategy. I've heard a couple people talk about that. Is that something you've noticed in rankings? And then, like the rankings are starting to fall as the links get older, you build links and then the rankings come back. Is that something you've seen in the data? It's
been a few years, honestly, since I've been that kind of close to the work. It's not something I noticed at a large company by any means. It's really hard to quantify on that sort of scale. But a smaller site, yeah, I have seen where the links start rotting and falling off, and the site actually just starts tanking. Right? I think what happens is it's like a simulated virality. Like Google thinks your site is going sort of viral, and again, it's niche dependent. And so they kind of scramble to catch up to that. And then once the virality drops off and it's not supported anymore, then they also drop the site off. I noticed if you re-hit the site with a lot more links, it doesn't actually tend to do as well. So there's probably something to that. It may not be exactly correlated to link rot though either. But
you also mentioned about it taking a number of months to see the true value of a link to kick in. So are we almost seeing an upward and downward curve based on the links that are being built?
Yeah, I think especially a higher quality link, the value doesn't seem to be released until the full time or until like a year. It does seem like, you'll notice this if you can segment a high value link to a page that's very limited in links, right? And you can see where it sort of bumps up, and then over time it may go up. Like over the 6 months period, it kind of catches another wave of rankings. I'm looking at keyword rankings, right? So if you're looking at this and then it kind of plateaus and then comes up again, it's not just a linear straight up, from my experience with the higher value. Like if you get high domain authority links. Yeah. And I don't think it's the aged links are still good, right? 2-3+ years of having a high value link is still really valuable. And I think Google would reward you if you kind of continue to update this page, right? Not just let it sit there as it is. So it's kind of a combination of things, right?
Okay. On the same line, I'm curious your thoughts on like links, repeated links from the same domain. This is another really debated topic. Some people talk about, diminished returns after a couple of links. But you also see people who have contributor accounts, and it seems to really do a lot. There's maybe the EAT aspect. What is your thought on, specifically on like high DR publications, repeat links?
I think if they have like different anchor text and they're from different pages, this doesn't usually happen, right? It'd usually
be different pages.
Right. It's different pages, but the same anchor text.
Usually branded, probably. Yeah.
So that does
in PR.
Right. Yeah. To me, that
or even contributor accounts, it would be probably branded.
Yeah, exactly. And so it tends to be, I think it tends to, from my experience, and I don't have data to back this up, but it just seems to like not be, it's not that much more valuable than just one or two of those links. Now, if you have lots of links from the same domain, but they have different anchor text, or they're from different places, then they're valuable. Or if they're linking to different parts of your site, they're more valuable. I also think it may depend on how often Google crawls the person linking to you, right? So if they're crawling that site a lot, they're crawling your link a lot. And I think there's probably some value to that as well. So I think there's probably two parts of that, or two aspects of that scenario that you would find value. So, but the thing is, I think a lot of those like PRs or contributors, Google doesn't crawl those pages a lot. Like they may crawl them one or two quite a bit, but then they kind of the content gets stale and they don't come back to it very often after a while.
I think they do. We've done a few case studies on this on smaller sites. So I don't know on larger sites. We did this for an interior design site and a couple other ones where we basically just, usually we have, like we're doing client digital PR, we have to spread out the order. We're pitching different publications. We usually only bill for a couple from the same publication. So this one, it was a partner, and we had the ability to the intention was just to build a bunch of links and see what happens. So we got a ton of links I think we ended up with like 50 links from 3 or 4 different domains, and a lot of syndicated links as well. And it had huge impact. So I don't know if that was the low competition nature, but I also see this with contributors. They're just constantly posting on Forbes. I think there's the authority element to it. I don't know that it would be the same case on Slack, for example, but I think on the lower end, there's something to it.
Yeah, I think that's lines with my anecdote as well.
Okay, so that's links. Let's look at the broader SEO landscape, where Slack fits in with that, whether or not you have had any post-core update meltdowns, or if you're still holding your nerve, the onset of Search GPT and AI. I'd love to hear your thoughts, and then maybe we can discuss some points around that.
Yeah, I think your last comment, Search GPT and AI, and then also like how does Slack fit into the new SEO? Those two questions kind of come together. To me, I can answer in one. Search GPT, like that fell off really quick. Nobody's talking about Search GPT like they were a week or two ago. So that's kind of funny to me. I was just thinking about that yesterday, how like my LinkedIn feed was just like lined up top to bottom, Search GPT, and then now it's like it's hard to find anything on it. So I don't know what that says, but
it's the Google killer, I hear.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they said a week or two ago, but I'm not so sure that's the case. I don't think that we're really close to anything super disruptive yet. But I think in like 5 years, I would see Google being quite a bit different than it is today. And the fact that like you don't really create content. We don't like blog content, for instance, is one of those things that got hit really hard by Google recently, and it's also like an AI knock-on effect where they don't trust, like AI doesn't trust blogs. Otherwise, that would be like they're part of their LLM models, because blogs have bias or they're just SEO spam or whatever. So they're pivoting to understand real human sentiment. They pivot to communities like Reddit for sure. Like that's the one that Google partnered with. That's the one that they're getting most of their understanding from real human sentiment. And they're also indexing it a lot more, right? If you look at them on your choose your favorite link or keyword tracker. It's just parabolic pretty much. I think that's actually going to be more and more common and Google also has access to another huge treasure trove of human sentiment in YouTube. So I think that they're going to come out the winner based on their access to the data they have. And I think having whoever has the most human interactions and user generated content will come out ahead in this AI LLM world. So this is where I see Slack. There's already apps out there that you can index Slack channels. And we should make this something internal where you can just index a channel, and instead of creating your own forum or something like this, you can create it within Slack. Or there's a lot of opportunities to have Slack build out user-generated content. And I think this would be a huge win for the company. Yeah, so that's kind of where I see Slack fitting in the future for this AI LLM model.
That's super interesting. You could even have like an opt-in. I imagine maybe certain companies, it's private, but like if you're within a company channel, then the company may allow certain channels to be open, and that you're sitting on a potential treasure trove of data. And you just alluded to the fact that you think Google will win out these wars based on their access to data, but if they're forced to sell Chrome and they lose all their Chrome click data and whatnot, like Slack could be a real sort of, they utilize it correctly.
True. Yeah. No, I think also just more like special interests. There's lots of like mountain biking Slack channels, right? You just index this, right? And then you can actually get more conversations going by having it indexed, because somebody may uncover what they're talking about. And it's all about the long tail. I think this was it Rand Fishkin that had this research about all the Google search terms recently. I just browsed over it, but it looked like a lot of long tail searches make up the majority of Google. So that's where these forums, conversations, and UGC really went out, is in long tail.
So I assume you think Google will still be the dominant player. You think we'll still use Google the same way? We go to Google, we search things. I feel like it's been...
I didn't say that.
Okay.
I think it'll still win, but I don't think it'll still function in the same way.
Okay. Do you have any thoughts on what could change?
Well, I think the way people search could change, right? I do think websites probably in the medium term are not going to be as valuable. People just aren't building websites, especially if you're a small business. Building a website is a very long and arduous task. You're getting less and less visibility into the traffic to your site, and it just makes it more difficult. So real advantage you have is you own that asset. But yeah, I think Google, the way you would search on Google is not just going to google.com and typing in a query. But I don't know what the optimal way is. If you're like Mark Zuckerberg, you'd be through some glasses. You may blink 20 times for a question. No, I don't know.
Hey Siri, and then ask a question. Or hey Google, yeah.
But I think there'd be a lot
Siri just responded.
Yeah, nice. I think there'd be a lot of prompting something to you before you even ask it, that type of stuff, or presenting options to buy things in the moment. If you have your glasses, like your Meta glasses or whatever, and you're shopping, you can cross-check prices or something like that. There'll be things like that I think that are valuable. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to speculate, but I don't think it'll be the way it is today in 5 years. I don't think we'll type in a question.
I'm intrigued to know if, in your position as head of SEO for Slack, if you are in any way mandated to be optimizing for channels outside of Google. For example, we're seeing referral traffic from places like Perplexity and Claude and these other LLMs. When you're having your monthly meetings, are you expected to generate traffic from these language models? And if so, or if not so, how can one optimize for those channels?
I should be, but I'm not. But I'm not, because I'm still building out a team. Also, YouTube's the second largest search engine, and we don't have much going on there from an SEO perspective, but I think it's a big opportunity. But a lot of these things require lots of stakeholder alignment and getting, who's creating the video, who's writing the script, who's, doing post-production. There's a lot of owners, and if there becomes a lot of owners, there becomes a lot of thrash, and it just doesn't become a nice, smooth process yet. So once we could get to that phase of creating content that's informed by Google or by data, then you can create those videos. But yeah, from Perplexity, I see they actually do seem to mirror a lot of what you see in Google. I think that may be part of the way they formulate an answer. So I think right now, like trying to rank in Google by proxy, we tend to rank in Claude or in Perplexity. But I would like to spend more time on it. It's just, this is one of the problems of being like a director level of SEO is like, especially at a bigger company, is I'm actually like swamped on the day-to-day basis of like meetings, reporting. And I don't have as much time to understand like, what is the algorithm behind Perplexity, or why does someone, I don't have a lot of discovery time, which to me, that's one of the more fun parts of SEO is like uncovering like emerging things in the space. But yeah, it's tough. It's tough to be a subject matter expert and manager.
And on that point of, even if you knew what was working today for Perplexity, in 3 weeks, it's probably something different. So that's one of those things. It's going to change a lot over the coming years. It's changing like week by week. It's changing a lot. And so maybe this is the perfect place to wrap up with, maybe my final question will be, for someone who's kind of just starting out on their SEO journey, if they think, one day I want to be the head of SEO at a big company like Slack, what are the skills they should be learning right now? Because I think they're probably a lot different than when you started out.
Well, if you're starting on your SEO journey, you need to be an SEO expert. You need to learn as much as you can about SEO. I think it helps. I think certain people have a mindset that helps them be better at SEO than others. I think for me, I have just a natural like curiosity for figuring out why things work the way they do. So SEO is a natural fit for me. As you progress in your career to get beyond just the subject matter expert, it's about communicating and being intellectually honest and especially like by far communicating and writing, like speaking and writing are the most important things for me. And they're also probably some of my weaker areas, but it's something I'm aware of and I'm trying to improve. It just takes me a long time to write something succinctly. Speaking in a way where like upper management understands what SEO is doing and what their value is, and being honest and not just like bending numbers. Like you have to be bring the bad news just as quickly as you bring the good news in order to make changes and correct errors. Those are the biggest skills, I think, to become a director level person in a bigger company, and just kind of being able to manage through bureaucracy and cutting through red tape, trying to find wins where, you maybe get dead set on one task and this is going to be the SEO needle mover. And then once that gets deprioritized because something happens, not to get discouraged and try to find the next needle moving project for you.
I like that. You've got to be as fast to bring the good news as you have the bad news. I just saw on Twitter today that recipes.net have just done like a totally botched 301 redirect. If you take a look in Ahrefs, they've gone from 1.5 million monthlies down to 0 in the space of. So I would hate to be the first to bring that bad news. Sam,
he's looking for a new job, I think.
Sam, I would like to end, if you've got just a couple more minutes, on a brand new feature on the Market Movers podcast, Slack Hacks. Okay, so I recently discovered the Mark Unread feature, which has been a game changer for me.
Total game changer.
So if someone sends me a message in Slack and I need to read it, I'll mark it as unread, and I've got it as bolded black. The 5-minute videos are obviously a game changer. I'm dabbling in the sort of Canvas arena. I want your top 5 Slack hacks that are going to just change the game for all of us using the tool.
Oh man, 5 is a lot for me.
You can use the 3 he gave you. Those are all 3 good.
Yeah, for sure. Clips is one. I do like the clips feature. That one's really cool. So it's like the 5-minute videos. I would say, okay, so this is terrible, but I am not the best Slack user. I worked at Amazon before we had Time. Right? So Time is like the archaic version. But no, I would say I appreciate features of like using also the Slack that we use internally is different. We have test things out on us, but I will say keep an eye out for like deploying an AI agent in Slack. That thing is really going to be a game changer, I believe. But yeah, just like copying over conversations, and it has like you can catch up on another conversation from a link. I think that's super valuable. Also, I want to make one case why Huddles is better than Teams or better than Google Chat for sure, is that you can comment in the comments that you leave in the window, come back with you, and you can check them later.
Yes.
Okay.
So
That is a really annoying thing in Google Meet. The amount of times I've said to someone, just send me that in the chat, and then you close the window. You're like, damn it, I've just lost it.
The same thing is so they can hold you accountable for what you say in that chat. So you got to make sure that
you got to really mean it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, well, that's awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to keeping an eye out for the AI agent stuff. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's coming, I think, in 2025. So yeah, it's going to be really nice. Yeah, you won't even have to run this podcast anymore. Your agent can just run it and ask me the questions.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Okay, well, Sam, it's been absolute pleasure having you on. Thank you so much. If people do want to, like you said at the start of the show, reach out and apply for a position working in the SEO team for Slack, where can they either reach out to you or to find them?
You can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I tried to avoid almost all other social media. So yeah, LinkedIn's a good spot to find me.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Sam.
And that wraps up this episode of Market Movers, Building Brands and Links with Linkify. Big thanks to our parent company, Linkify, the wizards behind turning ambitious businesses into standout brands. Hit up our website at linkify.io and take the first steps towards brand greatness. Big shout out to Fame for making this podcast possible. Thanks for listening, folks. Stick around for more insights in our next episode. Catch you later.